Low key, could we go the guard route? It's not a given that Zeitler's going to come, but it sounds like they want him, but it's feelings mutual. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds like Zeitler might be back
Right.
on a organization friendly deal. He probably not looking to get paid right now. My dog want to start barking for some reason.
Man, it
Um,
happens.
yeah, uh, but the guy, other than because I'd rather have Zeitler back, given the fact that I'm looking at James Daniels from the Steelers doesn't do anything for me. I don't want him. Tevin Jenkins, he's okay, but that's another guy. Will Fries is interesting from the Colts because they have had a decent run game. I can't believe his dog's in there
You
barking like
gonna go get the dog to look,
yeah.
man.
You know all about that.
Oh, mine,
But
he a little older now, so now he over here sitting on the couch. Like, he came to the stairs, like he see me make my cup of coffee. He
yeah.
see me come to the stairs. He came to the stairs. As soon as he see me put my headphones on, he come trot downstairs, hop on the couch. Hey, you about to talk about the Lions? I got a lot to
Yeah,
say.
yeah. They suck. No, but Will Fries is a guy, Walt, that I would take a look at if you can't get Zeitler. I'm confident. I think they can get him back. The
Yeah,
question is at safety, what we talked about just now as we open the show a little bit here. Hafanga is a guy I told you I kind of like him, but man, I think our guy Malcolm told us out west, man, that he just can't stay healthy the last couple of years. He's a impactful guy who kind of
right.
it's almost like it's funny that if we would go that route and we took Mosley, even though Mosley was more of a corner, you know what I'm saying? And it's sort of like, is he damaged goods or is he a guy that man, you got fingers crossed? Sign a contract with your eyes closed, that type of thing. You offer him a contract with your eyes closed if you're the Lions organization, man. So I don't know if we want to go that route. Javon Holland, damn good safety, but I don't know if you're going to
The
want to
money.
pay. Yep,
Yeah.
I don't think Javon Holland's even in consideration because you're going to have to pay out that money. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if they want to do that at the safety spot yet without paying Branch or Joseph, whoever they
Right.
choose. To
I
go on
think
that route.
yeah, I think Javon is in the same situation that Brian and Kirby in. Like, this is his first big deal. Like, he coming off
Hmm.
making, I think, 2.1 mil
Yeah.
in there with Miami. So he's another safety that has completely outperformed his draft position, and he
Hmm.
completely outperformed his contract. So no, Javon ain't coming here.
Yeah.
Javon is
Yeah.
more than likely, and I get it because as a young player, you want to that first contract, not the rookie contract. Nobody really counts that because it's all structured based upon your draft status, draft position. But no, it's
Yeah.
like it's time to get paid, bro. And that's
Hmm.
why you see a lot of players, I think, with their first contract that they actually get to negotiate, they end up with a bad team
Yeah.
because they end up chasing the money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And it's almost to the point that the line's going to have to pick, man. What position that they're going to like put the confidence in free agency. Obviously, the draft, they can cover a couple spots. You know what I'm saying, depending on which route we go. But for instance, like the offensive line, I think it's safe to say Taylor Decker's coming back, right? He's going to be our left tackle. I think the spot, the elephant in the room, is the Zeitler spot. You know what I'm saying? Because Ragnow, from all reports, I haven't heard anything. Ragnow, looks like he's coming back. And then you're gonna have maybe Kristen Mahogany, you know what I'm saying now, and then Penny Sewell, obviously. So I think you got one spot open. Now I heard the interesting thing about this whole offensive line thing. I did hear something about the Rams maybe cutting Jonah Jackson as like a cap casualty type thing. You know what I'm saying? Because it sounds like they want to just dump salary and still gain the new prospect. The new uh, go off with the young guys, with the young guy movement. So they may feel like if we get another cheap young offensive lineman this year, then Jonah Jackson could be expendable. Now, it'll be just like signing him as a free agent. So I don't know if the Lions want to go that route. You know what I'm saying? Depending on, because Jonas, like you just said about Javon Holland, he did get his money from the Rams. I think it was 3 years, 51 million. I think it was, and he's only played one season into that contract. So I don't know if it would basically be the Lions would pay that the rest of that contract. You know what I'm saying? And the Rams would eat so much of it, or we would eat so much of it. So that's complicated too. So I think I think the cheap option could be Will Fries. I mean, I kind of been on that the last couple days here. Because Trey Smith, I think he's gonna command big money, more than they're willing to pay. So I think you're gonna need middle tier offensive line help, or unless we go that route, go all in on the guard position and then get your blue chip, defensive end in the draft. You know what I'm saying? Because Milton Williams is a guy I'm pounding the table for right now. I kind of want Milton Williams on this team, man, for the Eagles. Look damn good. I don't know if the scheme's gonna match. That's the only problem. I don't know what Kelvin Shepard, what his philosophies are as far as like what defense he's gonna run. You know, he did mention he wants to be tenacious and have an aggressive approach. So Milton Williams might be a guy. I mean, I like him at defensive end spot more so than Josh Sweat. You know what I'm saying? I think it's something there. What's the guy's name for the Cowboys? Walt, I can't think of his name. I can't pronounce his name. Osa Odegua. He's a guy that's on the market too. Sorry,
I'm gonna just stay silent on that name.
yeah, I just butchered his name, but yeah, he's another guy who's it's something there, big strong kid. It just seems like it didn't materialize that much with the Cowboys, man. That may be another guy, unsung guy, minus Myles Garrett and the Max Crosby, Trey Henderson talk. Maybe that's a lower scale guy that you could bring into, you know what I'm saying, with that defensive end spot. So but I would really, but he's more of an interior guy like Reader. So I mean, you could cancel him out. I think it's going to be way interesting to see like what position Brad Holmes is going to attack. Because remember, I think whoever we take in free agency, I don't think it's got nothing to do with the draft. I think remember the last 3 years, I don't think he could double back and just say if we get an offensive lineman in free agency, I think that in the draft, I think he could still target a offensive lineman with our first pick. You know what I'm saying, or vice versa with the D line. So it's free agency. It's all about who's going to be the first domino to fall, man. You know what I'm saying? Who's going to be the first guy come midnight? The night of free agency. Who's going to be the guy that drops? Remember Saquon Barkley wasn't available until free agency last year, and they traded. You know what I'm saying? Guys become available real quick, man. You know what I'm saying? I think it's Tyreek Hill saying he wants to stay, blah blah blah, but he could be a guy on the move. I'm saying not for the Lions, but I'm just saying he could be a guy that also gets traded. You know what I'm saying? Matthew Stafford, you're hearing reports that Stafford could get traded. He could be a casualty, and they want to get from underneath that contract. So, very interesting. Nick Bolton is a guy, Walt, I got pegged too. Nick Bolton is a guy, linebacker for the Chiefs. Hasn't gotten paid yet, if I'm not mistaken. That may be a spot where I would sign Nick Bolton, man. You know what I'm saying? I would give him, 2-3 years, 3-4 years, whatever he wants. Solidify that linebacker spot. You know what I'm saying? And then you can still get your edge rusher or defensive interior defensive line presence. That's a guy I got. Them the two guys, Milton Williams, Nick Bolton, Will Fries. Them three guys right there. I think if we can't get Zeitler back, give me Will Fries. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think you can be good going into the draft. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. Javon Holland, I like DJ Reed. That's another guy. If we can't, like Brent just brought up, I would love to have Carlton Davis back too. But if we can't get him, DJ Reed is a guy. I don't know how much money he's going to command. So it's all about the money too. You got to think about that. Um,
Definitely.
you know what I'm
I
saying?
think the money. I think the money on Carlton has come down a little bit from the initial expectancy because we was hearing what 20 mil a year potentially from the Rams or Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Few days ago, I heard that number came down to around 15, 16 mil because he got what 14 from us last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. A lot of people see the money and they say, "Oh, this player isn't worth 11 mil a year. This player isn't worth 20. This player is." It's the same approach in the NBA. The money has changed. The times have changed. People have to stop looking at this guaranteed money or stop looking at the yearly salary and saying what guys are worth and what guys aren't worth.
Yeah.
It's not the 90s anymore, and these guys have to get paid. And, you look at the safety position. I'm going to go back to that because that was what was one of your initial statements, your opening statement, matter of fact. It's a good chance Melifonwu won't be back. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Is he full of talent? Yes. Does he have size, measurables, ability? Did he make plays when he was given the opportunity last year? He did. But the best availability, the best ability is availability. We've been
Yeah.
hearing that for decades in the NFL and any pro sport for that matter, man. And you can have all the potential and your ceiling can be as high as you want it to be, but it doesn't matter if you only playing every 7, 8, 9 games. You know,
Yeah.
um, could they bring him back? It's possible, depending on what him and his agent wants ultimately for him, depending on what the market looks like for him, because he's probably not even one of the top 6, 7, 8 safeties in this class for this year, free agent class, that is. So it's still possible he could come back on a team friendly deal as well. But whether they bring him back or not, I still want to upgrade because we
Mm-hmm.
played with three safeties, I think 90% of the time, 90% of snaps last year
Yeah.
defensively. So this is a team that if we're gonna base what they're gonna do moving forward off what we've seen in the past, that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna get a safety at some point in time, whether it's be in free agency or it's in the NFL draft, early, mid, late rounds, whatever. We do believe they're going to get a safety. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to talk about Justin Simmons for a second. Justin Simmons from the Atlanta Falcons. He was a guy that held out a lot last year, left the Denver Broncos. One of the best safeties in football. Just being honest about it. One of the best strong safeties in football. Very alert, very smart, knows his keys, knows how to get everybody lined up. A little bit of a freelancer. Very, very bright safety. Right along with Jesse Bates, matter of fact, who we played with last year with the Atlanta Falcons. Wasn't the same playmaker, the same ball hawking playmaker he was with Denver
Yeah.
when he went to Atlanta for last year. He only had 2 interceptions. That's neither here nor there why his ball production was down. But you're talking about a dude who's 30 years old. He signed ultimately last offseason with Atlanta, 1 year, $7.5 million.
Yeah.
He wanted 11. I think he wanted reportedly 11 mil a year, 10 mil a year. And you consider what he did, his production on the field, man, from Denver, he probably deserved it.
Yeah.
But you look at how they devalue the safety position, and before I give you $11 million, which you may deserve, I'd rather go take a risk on a young 25-year-old safety in free agency, or to go draft a guy in the NFL draft and then mold him into my system. But Justin's a guy who there's a way to build for the future while you're still in win now mode. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to win now, we need to get some vets in here in free agency. We already know that we're gonna draft some young guys, some talent. But and I think Ralph made this not made this up. Ralph brought this up in our last video, free agent video, about how he wanted some more veterans in the locker room and up front,
Mm-hmm.
and not so much youth as far as free agency, because we already gonna get young in in the NFL draft. I
Yeah.
like Justin Simmons because Justin is 30. Justin isn't showing too many signs of slowing down. If we have any Atlanta Falcons listeners out there, y'all can always chime in the comment section. Let us know what you guys think about Justin Simmons, how he affected your team last year. But
Yeah.
we talked about this last show as far as the 30-year-olds in the NFL. Like this current free agent crop is full of guys north of 30
Yep.
who are still productive, but as an organization, you always have that risk of, okay, like when I bring in a free agent, am I paying him too late?
Yeah.
Because a guy can fall off a cliff immediately, just like that. And you just made him the highest paid safety in the league, or the third highest paid linebacker because of what he spent 7 years doing with another team, and he comes to you and he falls off a cliff
Mm-hmm.
and he's never the same again. So I get why teams are real skeptical of these 30-year-olds, but I think Justin Simmons, man, if you're talking about for like a 1 year rental, 2 year rental, for that matter, you can still
Yeah.
draft the safety. Of course, 9 year vet, you can still draft the safety. But having Simmons, especially considering the issues we do have at corner and the questions we have at corner, I think ultimately I would go out in free agency. One of the first moves I would make, along with offensive line, getting some more veteran leadership in offensive line, would be to go after another safety, a strong safety, probably Justin Simmons of Atlanta. What do you think about that and like the safety situation in general right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I like the way you're thinking on that. Obviously, like I said, I think Melifonwu's played his last game in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? And I think they're going to kind of move on. You know what I mean from that. And I'm all for it because you got a new defensive coordinator, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be some changes defensively. I mean, you can't schematically, you're not even gonna like probably run the same defense. It could be, but it could be some nuances there too. You know what I mean? That it's gonna be, with a new defensive coordinator. So yeah, I like it, man. You want to have stability. The last couple times in free agency within the last 10 years, the Lions have always tracked a safety that they want, i.e. Glover Quinn years ago, you know what I'm saying, to get a guy, with some experience, like you said, can play center field. And I think in our division, we need that, you know what I mean? Somebody who's confident, who's going to be in where he's supposed to be, kind of direct the traffic on the backside too. Like you said, just a veteran presence. And then you can have Branch play his original what he does best. You know what I'm saying? In this defense is what I'm excited about with Brian Branch. I think is going to enhance his talent even more. You know what I'm saying? Because they know what they have in him. But Justin Simmons has been a consummate pro, man. Everywhere he's been, Denver, Atlanta, it was some rumblings that we was trying to get him last year, you know what I'm saying, or a year before that, you know what I'm saying, before he even went to Atlanta, that maybe we could have had a shot at him. But yeah, I think more so than ever, you would think he wants to win, at this point in his career. So, looking at what we have, I think the Lions are a team that does have an attractive roster. They do. You know what I'm saying? Now players can look at our team and say, man, you mean to tell me I can play with, Aiden Hutchinson and play with, Brian Branch or Kirby Joseph and, Liam McNeil and, they got Jack Campbell. They got, just a young piece together defense, like you said, with even more talent, you would think out of this draft coming up. So, yeah, very, very interesting, signing if you can get Justin Simmons. And I don't think it'll cost you a lot, you know what I'm saying, like that. I don't think it'll break the
No,
bank at all.
no. Looking at PFF right now because they have the contract rankings and the projected numbers
Yeah,
on these players. Justin, cause he's 31 right now, and if you look at well, at least his grades through PFF the last 3 years, he's an opportunistic ball hawk.
hmm
He's going to give up some plays. It happens. But if you're looking to add more playmaking to a defense and a secondary that needs some upgrades, we need upgrades at corner as well. If you're talking about still remaining to be a very ball opportunistic defense,
yeah,
and get takeaways and create short fields for your offense and get Jared Goff and that offense extra possessions, he's the guy that you can look at. And if you look at the projected contract right now for him, it says 1 year, $6 million average. So if you can get him for 1 year, 6 mil, or you can talk to Justin, and he's healthy. So you could possibly talk to Justin and give him, maybe he wants 2 years, maybe he wants 3 years, maybe you're right. At 31 years old, he's looking at it as, okay, this tail end of my career, should I go somewhere where I have an opportunity to win? They got a good franchise rocking,
hmm
and they're gonna pay me my money. I'm gonna play.
yeah,
I got stability. I don't have to keep jumping from team to team, from scheme to scheme on a year-to-year basis. So, you could look at Justin and say, okay, you know what, Justin? 2 years, we give you 14 mil for 2 years.
Yeah. Oh
or
yeah.
15 mil for 2 years. Give him a little
Sure.
bit of a raise because at the end of the day, he still wants to get paid. Look at how long Justin actually held out last offseason. And you brought up Javon Holland. Javon is he's pacing to be a $20 million safety.
Yeah.
Because the projected contract on Javon Holland right now is 4 years with an average of 19.5 mil per year.
Yeah.
Um, we talked about potentially within the next 2 years, Brian Branch being the first $20 million safety. That's
Yeah.
happening this year, possibly. But I don't even think that's just projected by PFF. I don't think anybody's gonna give Javon Holland $20 million a year.
Yeah.
Because this is a strong safety class as well. And teams are getting cheaper and cheaper, especially if you have a quarterback. You got to pay the quarterback. You want to pay your left tackle. You want to pay your edge rushers. You want to play your star corner if you got all that. But just with the safety position in general,
Mm-hmm.
there's some talent out there. You got Justin Reed from the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not
Yeah.
as high on Jeremy Chin as some other people are. Jeremy's about to be 27 years old. He's more of a
Yeah.
hybrid box linebacker type who can also be a big thumper on the back end. Depends on how they view him. And also, as you mentioned, we have zero idea about the defense, bro. We know what the defense was under past defense coordinator Aaron Glenn. We know that
Yeah.
Shepard cut his teeth under Aaron Glenn. He learned completely almost everything he knew under Aaron Glenn. But we don't know if he loves the 4-2-5.
That's
He
right.
may be a
Yeah.
3-4 guy. He
Mm-hmm.
may be a 3-3-5 tight type of guy. So, and if he is, another question is how much leash does Dan Campbell give him? Like, is he giving him the keys to the car until you crash it, and then I got to take the keys back?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting, I think, to figure out free agent wise what they're going to go after, considering we honestly don't know exactly what the defense is going to be next year. But
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
you mentioned cornerback too, and I want to go to the cornerback position. We look at the free agents in the cornerback position, man. If we can get Carlton Davis back, because he's gonna want to raise, and I understand Carlton broke his jaw towards the end of the season. Well, not like he did it his damn self, but ended up with a broken jaw. Ended up on IR for the rest of the season. I truly believe that hurt us tremendously not having him there. Is he a lockdown corner? No, but he's a 6'2" corner with long arms who can run, who competes.
Mm-hmm.
And if he gives up a play, he for damn sure is going to make up for it. Whether it's a couple pass breakups later on in the game, it may be a major interception, it may be a punch out, a forced fumble.
Yeah.
He was our best corner last year. Regardless of how people view him overall, he was our best corner. I think we're better with him because we know exactly what Carlton Davis is. Is there a cutoff financially for what you would give Carlton Davis between 14 and 20 million?
No, because I think that that's the market, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm just, you don't have to pay it out 5 or 6 years. You can give them a 3-year deal. You know what I mean? I think by that time, a lot of things with this roster will change anyway in 3 years. I think the window, as long as we're in this window of being a couple players away to be, you know, playoff competitive. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say the other word. I'm not going to say Super Bowl competitive, but I'll just say playoff competitive. And we're in a window. I keep saying this, Walt. As long as we got Jared Goff, they're in a win now scenario. With this team, man. You know what I'm saying? Until that part changes, I think that you want more veterans, and you want more guys 3, 4, 5 years experience, playing, a major role on this team, and then you sprinkle in, you get your Brian Branch, you just got talent from day one. That's the kind of players that we need. Like you said, if you sign a Justin Simmons or that was a very good example, Justin Simmons, because what I'm saying is now your back end is tightened up, right? So if you get a Carlton Davis back or you get a Justin Simmons back there, I do believe that what's missing is maybe a young pass rush. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the key to this whole thing is like, you know, the just the idea of we could just be the same and our injuries affected us, and if we just get everybody back, then we're going to be fine. And I think you can be. That's a dangerous game to play. You know what I'm saying? That we'll just be fine if we get everybody back. You know what I'm saying? It's just like we do have to, see it for what it is. Free agency. No, you don't have to overpay. You don't have to build your team. You're not building your team of free agency. You're just plugging in some spots. And that could be, you know, a game changer. You know what I'm saying? It really could. I mean, remember we signed Carlton Davis, for 1 year. We wound up signing DJ Reader. I think Reader's for 2 years. I think we got him one more year. You know what I'm saying? So Brad Holmes has made moves every year at free agency. And they've been pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we just out there signing guys and it's not worked out. You know what I'm saying? So for me, listen, I want Carlton Davis back, and I totally agree with you. Just the continuity in the locker room, just the continuity of him being able to battle. Because make no mistake about it. Well, we've been saying this since last year. Our division ain't getting no easier, man. You know what I'm saying? And you need the guys that battle at corner. Like I said, and for everybody that wants to just give up on Terry and Arnold. And I think that it was a good learning experience for him last year. It really was. I think he like, damn, these guys can play at this level. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have to step it up, or he gonna find his way like not starting. You know what I'm saying? Like a Jeff Okuda type situation. So. And the Lions could even go corner in the draft. I mean, they really could. I mean, this draft class is deep enough where you could get a guy, man. You know what I'm saying? Late in this draft. We'll get to it later on after the combine and stuff. But yeah, everything you just said, Justin Simmons, Carlton Davis, coming back. I'm lockstep with you on both them guys, man. It's almost like free agency people look at the names and you look at like a guy like if you go back to guard, okay, I didn't even realize Mekhi Becton had only signed a 1-year deal with the Eagles. I mean, I thought that Mekhi Becton was like a low-key one of the Eagles had a great offseason, free agency, draft. The last couple of Eagles did awesome, man. I don't I'm out of the Khalil Mack thing. I don't know, man. I just think Khalil Mack. We got Zadarius Smith. I'd rather have Zadarius
What is
Smith
Restream doing to my screen, dog?
I know, man. What's up? I thought you was doing that.
I'm gonna have to. No, I ain't doing this. Restream doing this, man. I'm gonna have to leave some angry notes, man, because this makes no sense. They did this a couple weeks ago. Like something is going on extra janky with Restream, but everybody watch it. Just hold tight with us while I fix this. But you can finish what you were saying, man.
No, like okay, like you would see people get fooled sometimes where you would look at the free agent list, you say, "Oh, Khalil Mack, number 5 on the list. Lions must have Khalil Mack. He's got it." And I don't want to sound like I don't want Khalil Mack, but what I'm saying is, I don't know, man. It just seemed like Khalil Mack to me. It's just like he's trying to just latch on to somebody and get that ring, man. That's how I feel about it. I don't have to have Khalil Mack. You know what I'm saying? Just
but he's still productive.
He's not yeah, but man, I don't know.
And if we talking about the money, bro, it's like I think Khalil is in a situation where he also was a victim of making a lot of money. A lot of money. You remember what the Raiders initially gave him, and he was a big time player for the Raiders.
Yeah, he was.
He left there. Remember the Raiders traded all those picks to the Bears. The Bears traded all those picks for him. He was productive with the Bears too. They just had was it Mitchell Trubisky as the quarterback at that time. Khalil then made a ton of money, and I think that's a situation too where people don't want to pay him that. But you talking about him being now like what he was a $14 million a year guy 2 years ago. He may not be that anymore. Yeah. But I think it depends on what you're paying him for. If he can't do anything else right now, he's still 6'5", borderline 6'5", 6'4 and a half. He's 256, and he can still rush the quarterback. Now, I don't know if you bring him in to be necessarily an every down player, but like I said, another potential hired gun, like right along with Justin Simmons. somebody who helps you for 2026. I mean 2025.
Yeah.
Not a long-term commitment though.
What if? Okay, yeah, I feel you. You sold me on it. Okay, what about? No, because what this is why I say that. If you was to tell me if you're gonna sign him and Justin Simmons, and then because Zadarius is not guaranteed to come back, right? Now Zadarius Smith could be like not back, if I'm not
um,
mistaken.
if I'm not mistaken,
I don't
they
think
could
they
save
got
some money for next year for
if
this
they
season
released
coming
him.
up. If they cut him,
Yeah,
but he still has a contract through 2025 into 2026. So if I'm not mistaken, they will end up having another player that you paying to stay home for the most part. You paying him to not be here because even if he's not on the roster, I forgot how much they owe him for 2026.
yeah. So
So it's
you
like,
might as well keep him on your roster. So if you give me the bargain bin special of Khalil Mack, Marcus Davenport, and Zadarius Smith. So you got them three guys. They probably wouldn't even. Khalil Mack wouldn't come here in that situation. I don't think. You know what I'm saying? He wants to be like the primary guy, right? Probably, or at least a
I
hard number two. You know what I mean? To another guy on the other side. But like the Chargers he's with Bosa. You know what I'm saying? Where you're not putting Khalil Mack by itself. You know what I mean? And
he
maybe
kind of was by himself over there. They said they didn't let that boy. They don't
yeah,
even want him around no more. Bosa,
yeah,
them
right.
injuries.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough. I mean, Aziz Ojolari, that's another guy. I got him. I forgot to mention him at first, but that I had been saying at the past show. So I, if I could get Ojolari over Khalil Mack, I would do it. And that's just me. You know what I'm saying? I would take Zadarius Smith over. I think about this real hard. I would take Zadarius over maybe Marcus Davenport, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Because I just don't. You know how I feel about Davenport when he's out there, but is he going to give us what 3 games? 2? I mean, he cannot stay healthy. That's his problem, and it's just I don't want to keep taking guys or signing guys that just will not be able to hold up. I mean, obviously we can't predict injuries. I'm not saying that, but if he's got just a rash of injury history, I mean, it's just like I don't even want
No, you get
even to
sick. You get sick
consider it.
of it, man. It's like you're not really taking free agency serious. You can't. You have to take both of them serious. Like you said, you don't build a team through free agency. You build a team through the draft, but free agency should be the cherry on top, the whipped cream, the almonds, the bananas, all that stuff. We not even getting cherries, whipped cream, and bananas. Like we
Right.
getting, wait, we get Save a Lot brand chocolate syrup. like you not spending no money on us, Brad. Like come on now.
Save
Now I
a
get it.
lot.
Like not to say anything wrong with Save a Lot because I
No, it's
sell
not.
my
I know
stuff
what
on
you're
Save a
saying. I
Lot.
know what you're saying.
All these two, man.
Yep, yep, yep. You
Yeah,
getting the
but like it's like, come on, bro. Like take free agency more serious than you have these last 4 years. That's all we asking. Enough kicking the tires on guys that's down on their luck, suffered a few injuries. You got a soft spot for them type of players. You
yeah,
bring them in for a year, they give us nothing.
yeah.
You
Like Dre
congratulate them on
Greenlaw.
how hard they worked, despite the fact they gave us nothing. And then you
Hmm.
bring them back for another year, and they give us another load of nothing. Like that's what we got to move past, bro.
Yeah,
That's what we got to move past.
like Dre Greenlaw. There's a
Yeah.
guy like Dre Greenlaw been hurt. You know what I'm saying? Coming off a Achilles injury, and it's like you know. I think I don't think Jalari is that great against the run. I think that's a good point.
But
If
that's
I'm
you
not
can hide him in
mistaken,
the 3-4, I think. But are we gonna
yeah,
run more 3-4 this year?
I think he had 7 sacks last year. So he was a
Hmm.
good rotational player, but again, he's next to Kayvon Thibodeau. You know,
Brian
them boys,
Burns.
yeah, Brian Burns, them boys
Yeah, Dexter
balling.
Lawrence in the middle of the
Dexter
defense.
Lawrence, them boys
Yeah.
balling, man. I love the Giants defensive line, but yeah, so it could be a different situation if you bring Aziz here where he like, oh, yeah, I'm the only guy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that could be an issue. You know what I mean? So you do have to be kind of stout up front to bring a guy like him because I don't think he's more of a run stopper. I think he's a
Right.
pure pass rusher. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just brought up Drake Greenlaw because of the injury. That's all. You know what I'm saying? That's a guy that Brad would, give him a 4-year deal or 3-year deal. It's like, no, Brad, no, don't. You know what I'm saying? 1 year, give him one, and then like a prove it type thing. Just I just don't want no hurt players, man. I don't want to draft none. I don't want to sign
I
none.
don't want any players with any big question marks coming in, bro. That's my
Yeah,
whole thing. Like, in going back to the cornerback position, even Shavarius Ward.
yeah, from the 49ers.
Shavarius had the best years of his career with the Kansas City Chiefs. We know he went to the 49ers. A year ago, he had that awful tragedy with his child passing away. Be it was his child was born stillborn, if I'm not mistaken. So he had that issue in California. Um, I know Lamar brought it up about him probably potentially wanting to get out of California, just having that horrible memory of being there or whatnot. But Charvarius Ward is another question mark. He's about to be 30 soon. Um, he
Mhm.
made 13.5 mil a year ago. Now the market for him right now currently says that PFF has him currently ranked as the second best corner in free agency with a projected contract of 3 years, 14.5 mil. So they have him
Mhm.
and Carlton Davis, who they have ranked as the fourth best corner in free agency. They
Yeah.
had both of those dudes projected at 14.5 mil. And then they got your boy DJ Reed, who they have ranked as the number one corner in free agency at the age of 28. They
Yeah.
have him at 3 years, 14 mil. So if you're asking about what do you think not Dan Campbell, but what Brad
Brad
Holmes would
Holmes.
do,
Yeah.
the top three corners in free agency: DJ Reed, 28, projected 3 years, 14 mil. Charvarius Ward, 28, projected 3 years, 14.5 mil. And then you got Carlton Davis, 28 years old, projected 3 years, 14 mil.
Yeah. That's the
This
max.
organization love their own. I
Mhm.
can see them bringing back Carlton Davis before they bring a new guy in, probably more than likely, because at least you know what you're gonna get from Carlton Davis, unless
Yeah.
Carlton fall off a cliff coming back next year. I would probably, and I like DJ Reed,
Mhm.
but
I
there's
like
always
Carlton
the
Davis.
case of the unknown,
That's
you
right.
know.
Yeah. And I do think you want to have, like you said, um, continuity with this team. That's what I like about this organization. Has they built that? You know what I'm saying? Well, where people want to be here. You know what I'm saying? Where players want to stay. So much. You've heard players say, it's a good environment. You know what I'm saying? They feel the team's trending. I think that the big thing is in game with the line, well, in season rather, is going to be the adjustment of players to the new coaches, man. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be a huge adjustment, on the fly. I think it does matter in an NFL season. Look at the Eagles, what they went through. I keep referencing them because it's kind of like the same situation where they lost both their coordinators, man. You know what I'm saying? When they lost Shane Steichen, when they lost Jonathan Gannon, I think it was, and they wound up not they getting beat in the first round of the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And then after they had changed everybody,
Yeah,
so and then went out and changed some more things, and then got some more players. So it is,
they had two rough seasons though. Like, remember
yeah,
after the Kansas City Chiefs lost in the Super Bowl, they had two rough seasons, and
yeah,
people started saying, "Well, Sirianni should go." And y'all will never win because y'all got rid of the coordinator and y'all brought the wrong guy in from the Colts and all this other stuff. But
hmm
that's why I think I try to preach patience to Lions fans, because the Eagles didn't just microwave that Super Bowl. They had some rough patches, losing to Tampa in the first round, getting
hmm
to the Super Bowl and losing to Kansas City, having that 10-1 start last season, then faltering down the stretch. Like, yeah, it's some rough patches you tend to have to go through before you finally ultimately raise that trophy.
yeah, yeah. Facts, man. Um, it's like I said, this could be interesting. The free agent process always is like I said, it's a domino effect, and
Yeah.
trust me, the day I think I think free agency's coming up in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's after the combine, which of the
The
combine's next weekend, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
the legal
And
tampering starts March 8th.
yeah, March 8th. Yup. And I think that's gonna be where deals get done quick. March 7th at 11:59. Teams are gonna have their phones out. You know what I'm saying? And GMs, the minute that it strikes midnight, it the domino's going to fall. You know what I'm saying? And teams can do trades. Um, Another guy I was thinking about was Demarcus Lawrence
Hmm.
for the Cowboys. He's intriguing, man, because I think Demarcus still can play. I don't know how much he loves football like that. You know what I'm saying to me? Because it seemed like he have you wanting more sometimes. You know what I'm saying? With the Cowboy, he always had me like that. You know what I'm saying? Where physically imposing, you know what I'm saying? Just born God given talent to be a pass rusher. He would be a guy that's, if we can get a bargain bin special, you know what I'm saying? And maybe get his career back on track.
Oh
That's
yeah,
another guy I was kind of thinking about. Um,
that's right
and
up
I,
Brad Alley right there, boy. You talk
yeah,
Demarcus Lawrence. You talking about with 2 years, 7 mil? Oh
yeah,
yeah,
right.
at 32 years old.
Yeah,
I don't know if Lawrence is his type of guy. I don't know if
right,
Lawrence is Dan Campbell's type of guy, man.
right.
Like the
Because I don't know if he's
the
motivated
inconsistent
like that.
effort,
Yeah, yeah,
the off the field stuff. You give us something for 3 games, and then you leave us wanting more for the next 5. Um, we need to talk to some Cowboys fans about Demarcus Lawrence because, like, I know
mm-hmm,
some Cowboys fans that's kind of happy to see him go,
mm-hmm,
honestly.
yeah,
And that's one thing I try to factor in with the free agency. I go surfing through YouTube, finding Cowboys content creators or content creators from other fan bases to see what they think about their players. And there's a lot of Cowboys fans I've seen that are happy to see Demarcus Lawrence leave. So I
mm-hmm,
think one thing is one guy, the type of player they're not going to bring in here is the guy that has question marks about effort, consistency,
yeah,
off the field, and then
yeah,
being 32 years old is like, I don't know, man. It's like, do we necessarily need DeMarcus? Because if we go to like the available edge rusher, defensive ends, it
yeah,
ain't a whole lot. You got DeMarcus Lawrence at 32, Josh Sweat at
mm-hmm.
27. Now, do you replace do you replace a Darius Smith with Josh Sweat? Is possible.
Possible,
I
possible,
mean, yeah.
possible. Also, yeah, I mean, because for me, I look at the youth, man, the youth. That's why I think I was all in for Julian Okorga, hook, line, and sinker. When we drafted him out of Notre Dame, I'm like, man, this is the perfect guy, young, long arms, athletic, but it just didn't materialize after Trey Flowers. It just hasn't worked out for whatever reason for
Right.
Lions that pass rush help. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's a guy, another guy, man, that I really believe that if we can just get something out. I don't want a guy that, man, you got to hold his hand to make him play, that type of thing, man. I want somebody that,
No, I get you.
you know what I'm saying, that's hungry, man. But it's hard, like you said, because free agency it's not a lot of guys like that. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's a reason why they hit free agency sometimes. You know what I mean, on some of these guys, but
Yeah.
everybody's got different circumstances. The good thing, I can keep saying this about the Lions, they are in a spot where, man, if they can just hit on defense, whether it's free agency or the draft, I think we're gonna have a different conversation about this team next year. I think it's all about they have to make the right. They got to make the right plug in pieces this year. They have to. You know what I'm saying? You can't be, just experimenting, man. I don't think that the lines are past that. They need results right now more than anything. You know what I'm saying? So the draft is there. We know the draft that Brad gonna make it happen. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of how many starters we can get out of this next draft. Um, Free agency, again, Brad, the last couple years has made some splashes. So I believe that he will. It's not like he's not going to spend any money and get anybody. I do believe that he will. You know what I mean, Walt? I don't believe that. Brad Holmes he listens to the media. He hears what's being said. He know. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's just sitting there with a pair of what they call them, used to call them them big blue blocker sunglasses. I don't think he's sitting there with a pair of blue blockers on the
With
couch.
roses all in front of him.
Yeah, like everything is good. I don't believe that one
What are you
bit.
guys
You know,
talking about?
yeah,
John
right,
Kaminsky is just as good as everybody else.
right. I do think that they got to come off some people this
Yeah.
year. Like they do. I'm glad you brought up Kaminsky because the big thing is how do they feel about Anzarike and are they gonna sign because the PFF got him I think it rated at I don't think that this was a rating because they had him top 50. I think Anzarike was like at 41 I think it was for top 50
Yeah.
free agents.
Yeah, they have him ranked, I think, right now as the third best defensive tackle because
Yeah,
he's even. But that's the thing, like you wasn't drafted to be even. Like being even wasn't your calling card. Your calling card coming out of Washington was collapsing the interior of the offensive line to get into the quarterback.
yeah,
So in the market for just steady, but he is still young. He's
yeah.
got youth on his side, so he'll still get a little bit more money. But I don't know. It just as a Lions fan, and you know that there's fan bases out here who view their players the same way we view them. It's like, okay, PFF says this about you, but watching you play and watching every game of your career for the last 4 years, do I get $12 million defensive tackle from him?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think that's a big question. Now, somebody will pay him. Of course, they'll pay him, but like even with Josh Uche, remember coming from New England,
Yeah.
everybody here wanted Josh Uche. Josh Uche hasn't been productive since 2022. Now, a lot of it had to do with the fact that Josh Uche came from Michigan, so he was a familiar name. He was a familiar face.
Yeah.
Josh is 26. Now, PFF has Josh currently ranked 94th overall prospect in free agency, projected contract of 1 year, 4.5 mil.
Mm-hmm.
That's right up. That's right up your boy alley.
Right up Brad
One
Alley.
year, 1 year, 4 mil. Okay, we
Yeah.
can do that, I guess. But but he's a 3-4 outside linebacker, weak side. So if you're not going to play more 3-4, it's like, what are you really doing?
Yeah, I like
Derek.
Josh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Derek Barnett. I know a lot of people remember Derek Barnett.
Yep. Former
28
Eagle.
years old, 1 year, 4.25 mil. So there's some guys, some edge rushers out there in free agency, but you start talking about Matthew Judon, 32 years old. That's a familiar name. Chauncey Golster from Dallas. That's another guy they about to let hit free agency. Dante Fowler Jr. feel like he's played for every damn team in the league.
Yeah, he was in Washington last year, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah,
Former
30 years old.
Jaguar. Yeah.
Everywhere. Raiders, Ravens. He's been some of every damn where.
Mhm.
So, like you said, Azeez Ojulari, he's intriguing at 24 years old. But
Yeah.
do you
It
have
don't
the
move the
scheme
needle.
to make
Yeah.
him successful?
Right, exactly. And I think with him, I think he's more of scheme specialty. You might be better off drafting a guy that you can groom him, you know what I'm saying, than
Yeah.
taking Azeez Ojulari. So yeah, like I said, free agency it's Christmas time for some folks, and they like sign this guy, just sign this guy. And it's like, man, that's not how it works sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's good when you did for sure. Let's just say we didn't know. We didn't have all the injuries we had, and everybody, played. And if we didn't have the catastrophic injuries on defense, I think the narrative would be different with this team. I think we'd be looking more of a big play receiver or something. You know what I'm saying? More so than sign every available defensive player. No, you know what I'm saying? Everybody seen how bad it ended, and the injuries did set us back, from where we want to go. But I think that if we wouldn't have had any injuries the way we did and maybe still lost, you know what I'm saying? And maybe we wouldn't be so gung-ho on like, let's change the whole, let's get a guy. And like, I probably wouldn't be saying we need Myles Garrett. I wouldn't be saying that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would say if we lost and we had everybody, then maybe we do need to draft a top pass rusher instead of getting a top free agent right now. You know what I'm saying? Or trading for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, the narrative change, everything, you only as good as your last game. You know what I'm saying? I truly believe that. I truly believe, I'm not going to say I would say you're judged on your last. Look at Sam Darnold, right? Sam Darnold, everybody loved him and prayed and said how great he was, and this guy
We
is
can't
great.
wait till he exposed to those frauds in Detroit.
Yeah, right. He resurrected his career, but they remember the last two games he played. You know what I'm saying, against the Lions, against the Rams, and he fizzled out. You know,
Yeah.
so everything he did mean shit. You know what I'm saying, basically, and it was just like he's Sam Darnold. You know what I'm saying? No, the Lions did everything they could, 15-2, but yet they still didn't win. So they still the Lions. You know what I'm saying? So I think that part is unfair, but that's the way sports, especially football, man. Football is so volatile, so diverse, so because you're up one year, you're down the next.
People just
Look,
hang on every single game. It's like you
yeah,
only as in the NFL with most fans, you're only as good as your last game, or you're as
yeah,
bad as your last game. So everything you
that's
did
right.
prior to that doesn't mean anything because the last memory we had from you. Same thing with Jared Goff. Like Goff and Darnold, if you're being honest about it, both teams won 15. Well, yeah, both teams won 15 games, right? The
No,
Minnesota win 14.
they won 14. Yep.
Yeah. Both
Same thing.
quarterbacks. Yeah,
Yeah,
both quarterbacks have very similar statistics overall, passing touchdown wise, yardage, completions, all that good stuff. But both of y'all ended up playing horrible in your final game of the season.
yeah,
Golf is, regardless how much we may support golf here, the guy didn't play well. And that's just about us holding him accountable the way we hold everybody else accountable. He didn't play well. And that's the last thing people remember from you. It's rough on the quarterback when it happens in a playoff game.
yeah,
That's the whole
yeah,
thing because the whole
yeah,
world watched.
yeah, yeah,
For everybody who viewed golf as garbage or trash or he's not this and he's not that and he's not the guy that can get y'all over the hump, Lions fans, they smiled after that game because everything that they felt about Jared Goff showcased itself against the Commanders. He
yeah,
struggled. Like if you force Goff into a situation where he has to drop back, and we shouldn't be saying this about our quarterback. I should be able to trust my quarterback to drop back 7 steps, survey the field, and push the ball down the field.
yeah,
But that's not one of his benefits. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, but there were some things that whether we think it was done purposely by Ben Johnson or whatever, his issues were put on complete display in that Commanders game. And we talked about that. We talked about his issues in the Baltimore Ravens game a year ago.
yeah,
What he doesn't do well, when you force him to do it, it shows why fans outside of Detroit and some fans here in Detroit view him the way they view him as not good enough. Or a guy that's, if you force him to be the reason for your team to win, he can't do it.
yeah,
And
yep.
I
And
don't
I
think
think
that's anything, say hurt about it, but it's true.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
Corey Patterson, it's the truth, though. Thanks, Corey. Like
it
we try to
is.
be
I mean,
honest. That doesn't mean we don't like the dude
yeah.
or
And it
don't
doesn't
support
mean
him.
that right. It doesn't mean you can't win too, Walt. Sorry, I mean cut you off.
No, you good, bro.
No, it's like you right. And it's like I told you again, people just don't realize when you say Super Bowl window or window for this team. I think as long as I just say it again, Jared Goff, as long as he's a quarterback, they're in a win now scenario. You know what I'm saying? If you happen to draft a quarterback and you hit the jackpot like Jaden Daniels, then yeah, of course, then your rebuild is accelerated. Hell, you ain't even rebuilding no more if you got a good quarterback. If you get a Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud or the last couple of years. But for us right now, the condition of this team, well, is predicated because we got Jared Goff at quarterback and we have to win now. I mean, you can't. He's not signed for 7 years or anything like that. I think we got
True.
2 more years with Goff according to
Things
his
can change
contract.
for you real quick too. Remember Matt Schaub?
Yeah. Yep.
How everybody loved Matt Schaub and he was making Pro Bowls for the Houston Texans and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
out of the blue, he just became terrible. Not to say that Goff would become that, but you only as good as your last game of your last season.
That's right.
As much as people love Jared Goff, if he goes out next season and ends the not regular season, but ends the playoffs, our playoff run with that type of performance, it's gonna be over for him.
Yep.
Public
I've
perception.
been saying that, right? That's what I was saying when it happened. I said, listen, you only get so many chances, right?
to
And
lose.
to
Yeah,
lose, right? That's what I'm saying. And I
yeah.
think that the reason why I think I'm just using Lamar Jackson. I don't want to sound like I don't like Lamar Jackson. I'm just using him as an example. Like everybody know Lamar Jackson damn good, right? We know all the
Spectac
accolades, all the MVPs, all the passing
dynamic.
yard, all the touchdowns. But man, they lose. They've lost three. I've seen them lose three straight times in the playoffs. Man, it
That's
hasn't even
fair.
sniffed the Super Bowl. So eventually, I think because Lamar Jackson's been so dynamic and he's won, at least he's won. And Jared Goff hasn't won an MVP yet. You know, Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson has multiple, and I think that's why he gets the leeway where people's not saying like,
but he shouldn't.
yeah. I
I
think it's
mean, that's
because of
just
the
about
accolades. Yeah.
he a brother, and I support him and all. But
Yeah.
let's be fair about it. The media only holds certain quarterbacks to the winning standard.
Yeah.
Like people love Lamar so much, and I love Lamar Jackson too.
Yeah. But I do too.
But
I do
we
too.
do give him a free pass for not winning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the first thing people bring up when you bring up Lamar Jackson and lack of playoff success, well, he's won MVPs. Like I get that. That's regular season though. That has nothing to do with the playoffs, man. And people don't hold Lamar Jackson responsible for losing. Like if you look at the playoff record isn't good. His touchdown to interception ratio in the playoffs isn't good.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
touchdown to turnover ratio in the playoffs isn't good. And
And
we can sit up and blame, people try to blame Mark Andrews for that loss. And you want to blame the offensive line for this and that. Lamar still had 2 turnovers. And that was the first thing he brought up. I can't turn the ball over like that. You know, it's being honest about it, man. We hold Josh to that. Look, Joe
Josh
Burrow,
Allen.
another dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
That when are people gonna start? Look, that dude been running off that them Super Bowl fumes for the last 3 years, bro. And Lamar brought that up. Lamar Horton brought that up. No, yeah, Lamar Spirit of Detroit brought that up in his last show. Like, if you look at it for what it is, man, did the Bengals have a 1-year window? Because they haven't sniffed the Super Bowl again. They haven't
Yeah.
sniffed the AFC Championship again since then.
Yeah. But I think with a guy like him, you know, again, he gets the leeway because he got the numbers, you know, he
Yeah,
does it in style. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And, you know, I think, you know, it's easy to point the finger at Jared Goff because he got traded. You
right.
know what I'm saying? And he has, you know, he's lost last 2 years in the playoffs. So it's easy to jump like Dak Prescott. He easy target too. You know what I'm saying? Just because of the team, you know, Goff has been way more successful than
Right.
than Dak Prescott. I don't want to take that away from him because he has, but yeah, like Josh Allen, like right now, he's the golden boy right now. So I don't think Josh Allen gonna get any pushback right now. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, basically it's like, oh, this team they got to build around and blah blah blah. It's not really so much Josh Allen. You know what I'm saying? Because he has been Mr. Everything for that team.
Yeah,
You know what
he
I'm saying?
hasn't had as much around him as Lamar has in Baltimore.
Yeah, you know, and I think you know. And somebody brought this up. I think one of our listeners, shout out to Eric. I think that one time he brought up Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers hadn't won a Super when they won. What was it, 2010 or what? I can't even
Either
remember
was it
what.
2010 or 2011.
Yeah, when the Packers won the
Yeah,
Super Bowl, and I didn't even realize like Aaron Rodgers, like how many times he got bounced in the playoffs after that. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. Like,
it's crazy that he never went back because he played so great in that Super Bowl run. This
mhm,
dude looked like the greatest person to ever throw a football, bro.
yeah,
If you
but
would
he
have
was
told
getting
me he
bounced.
never was gonna go back,
Yeah, he was getting beat in the playoffs. Well, I think he got 3 straight first round exits, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I'm saying? In
yeah,
that time, you
they had
know,
some bad defenses early on too. Remember that one playoff loss at Arizona? What is it, like 48-43 or something at Arizona? That
something
one,
crazy.
they had
Yeah,
a lot of them though. Yeah, it was a
yeah.
lot of them.
So yeah, I mean, this free agency, it's gonna be interesting. You know, obviously Russell Wilson getting some talk. You know what I'm saying? Because you know you man. It's just like now another team is gonna inherit the Russell Wilson experience. You know what I'm saying? Wow, how the mighty have fallen. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I remember Russell Wilson, man, was like one of my favorite guys. I mean, I'm not saying he's not. I mean, obviously he's not a top quarterback now, but I always like Russell Wilson. I have since the day he came into the league, but that hasn't mounted to anything, man. You know what I'm saying? Since those years in Seattle, it seemed like so far, so long ago. You know what I mean? When Russell Wilson was a really good quarterback and he was,
Yeah.
had won a Super Bowl and he was, he could lead your franchise. It just hasn't materialized for him. It just amazing. Like Matt Schaub, you brought up a very good point on Matt Schaub, and I think that Kirk Cousins is sort of in that category as well. I mean, Kirk Cousins is a guy that Kirk does Kirk things, put up a lot of numbers,
Made a lot of
and
money, boy.
Kirk, yeah, but he constantly gets beat in the play, and I don't think
In the
people are
regular
really
season
on
too.
him. Huh?
That man get beat in the regular season,
Yeah,
training camp,
yeah,
7-on-7s.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I mean, this free agent cycle is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know how. Now let me ask you this before we get out of here. Like how serious do you think? Not even for the Lions, Walter. Just straight up. Do you think Myles Garrett gonna get traded? Do you think, or you think it's more so he wants out, but the organization gonna hold him hostage? That type of thing. Do you think he gets traded?
Yeah, eventually. But like I said the other day, I don't believe if he doesn't get traded before the draft or during the draft, that's a situation in Cleveland that may get that out. It may be a situation that may carry on all the way through training camp into the regular season because we know the Cleveland Browns organization pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm.
They don't believe in paying too many people. It was interesting that they did what they did for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, man.
But that was the people upstairs that okayed it once they brought Barry in, the new GM, and this and that. They okayed that. So that was something that was kind of outside of the realm of what the Browns organization likes to do.
Yeah.
But they just gave him a ton of money. As far as Deshaun Watson, if you think about it, who else did they really pay any big money to? You look at Jedrick Wills, and we talked about Jedrick Wills, the left tackle from
Yeah.
Cleveland last show. They don't want to pay him. Not to say that he was terrible or whatever, but he was pretty good his first couple years in the league. And typically, organizations don't allow 25-year-old left tackles to just walk out the door. But
Yeah.
Cleveland is also in a financial situation where that Deshaun Watson situation handcuffed them tremendously.
Yeah.
So do they, as far as Garrett, I can see Garrett stringing this whole thing along. Not him stringing it on, but I can see the Browns waiting this thing out. If it doesn't happen before the draft, or at least during the draft, man. Cincinnati Bengals, same thing. They have a history of not wanting to pay people. Arizona Cardinals, they have a history. Some of those old ran organizations, they have those instilled values in them. And it's funny how it's typically the organization that don't win shit.
That's right.
Browns, Cardinals, and Arizona, and Cincinnati Bengals. The organization that have some of the most inept, futile. Right along with the Detroit Lions, historically, the organization that don't want to pay anybody.
Yeah.
So I think he gets traded because we heard things we heard about him last year after Deshaun Watson tore his meniscus or his ACL or whatever in that game, and Browns fans applauding, chanting, "You deserve it."
Yeah.
When he came out against the fan base for what they said about Deshaun Watson, I knew it was kind of over for him.
Yeah.
And he was right. The man didn't do nothing but defend a teammate, and you had fans turn on him like that. Well, if you don't like it, Myles, you get out of town.
Yeah. Well,
who are the Browns to who are the Browns to tell him that though?
Had no leverage. Yeah.
Who are you as a fan base? Who are you to tell Myles Garrett he can get the hell out of town?
Yeah.
Like, be honest, man. So I think it was over for him when he stood up for Deshaun Watson because there was a line drawn in the sand with Browns fans about Deshaun Watson a long time ago.
I think this year, I think we're gonna see more and more. Like I think the NFL, like the NBA trade deadline, I think it's gonna be players moved. I really do, man. I do. I think that the Tyreek Hill thing kind of intriguing. But as long as they got Tua, they might want to keep him around. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the offense is fine in Miami, but. You just look around the league, and then two teams like this quarterback crop, man. We talk about the draft even more, especially on our next show. But I'm intrigued. Shador Sanders and Cam Ward and man, I'm Quinn Ewers. I'm just intrigued how all of this going to play out because it's reasons to the mat. I even heard that Daniel Jones could be like if Sam Darnold don't go back to Minnesota, maybe they might try to resurrect Daniel Jones' career if JJ McCarthy's not on schedule. You know what I mean? In Minnesota, and ultimately that may affect who's gonna be uh, signed. You know what I mean? Like DeAndre Hopkins is a guy. I see he's a free agent. A receiver.
Whew,
And I
gosh.
like D Hop. And I felt bad for him. He was the only guy I was kind of rooting for on the Chiefs because D Hop just
Yeah.
been on bad. It's just saying he finally was on a good team. He's been on a bad team his whole career, basically, with Arizona, Tennessee, and Arizona. But
Houston. Well,
yeah,
Houston was good with once again Deshaun Watson.
yeah.
They was okay then, but
So
yeah, I think he's another guy that's trending outward. He was never the most athletically gifted guy, for
yeah,
that matter, but it's he has hands. He was physical at the point of attack. I mean, at the point of the catch or whatnot. But those type of receivers like DeAndre Hopkins, those guys become a dime a dozen, and when they fall off, especially you've never had the physical skills to begin with, when they fall off tremendously. But it's funny you mention him. Wide receiver is a spot that you can ask the question: do we address that in free agency?
hmm
Elijah Moore, from the New York, no, well, he was drafted by the New York Jets, got traded to the Cleveland
Cleveland,
Browns.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, yep.
hmm
Heading into year 5, still a relatively young wide receiver. I think he's 24 or 25 years old.
yeah,
Short, 5'10", shifty, fast, explosive slot receiver, guy that can get open.
yeah.
He can get open deep. He can get open underneath.
I like Elijah Moore.
Cheap,
Like them
and I
coming
keep
out.
going back to cheap because they
Yeah,
love them some cheap.
yeah. I like them coming out of Ole Miss. Well, very good point. I like him too coming out. As man, I'm really stuck with this Tim Patrick thing. It just more and more what I hear don't sound like Tim Patrick's going to be back because I think he's going to be a high demand. I think Tim get ready to get paid. You know what I'm saying? I think it's rumors that the Bears could try to get him once free agency start. You know what I'm saying? That would be interesting because Ben Johnson obviously was here, but. Yeah, and then Corey, I see Corey I was going to mention that too with Stafford to Minnesota, man. I've been hearing that too lately. That's something that could happen here. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Hey, we know what Matt can do. You know what I'm saying? And it sounds like the Rams kind of getting sour, with his wife and stuff like that. Which I don't even want to get into that, but her comments on the podcast stuff like that, but. Um, Matt can still play. You know what I'm saying? Matt can still throw the ball. He could still lead a
Yeah.
team, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? More so, hell, he way more dependable than Sam Darnold, I think, in a spot. I
Oh, of
mean, it's not
course.
like he'll make I don't fear that Matt Stafford will make the big interception like Darnold would. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think remember if they had one more quarter against Philly, that game was already in. They would have lost the game. I don't think Philly was going to lose the game, but Matt Stafford made it interesting. He really did. If you look back at it. So man, I just think that right now, when you look,
Marcus.
yeah, when you look at this team, when you look at, when we talking about the Lions and free agency, there's holes. You know what I'm saying? There's holes, and obviously you can't plug all the holes that we need on defense in one free agent class. We may not even sign a defensive player. You know what I'm saying? It may be that we might go full out 7 defensive players in the draft. You know what I'm saying? I think Carolina was the last team that drafted all defensive players a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, you know what I'm saying, to just say, hey, the way we're going to build this thing is through the draft. And we know Brad Holmes is real strong in the draft. And I like that. He's got that draft mentality. He does, like we're going to build this thing through the draft. So free agency it feels like Christmas, but ultimately it's fool's gold sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I can maybe end it with that because all of these players, a lot of them got question marks to me. You know what I'm saying? Either whether it's injury, whether I think the big question, I think for us, I think the biggest question mark is we don't know what John Morton's philosophy is or Kelvin Shepard. You know what I'm saying? We know what this team is built on. We know they built on the grit. They built on, toughness and guys that want to play football under Dan Campbell. But we don't know, Walt, what John Morton's going to want to run. What if they go offense? You know what I'm saying? First couple picks in the draft, or what are they really trying to gain more reinforcements on the offense, and get skill players? You know what I'm saying? What if they go that route, which people would probably go through the roof if that happened, but they could have that philosophy too. You know what I mean? I think think about the coaches, Walt, that we changed, and that I think that plays a role too in direction this team's going to go here, moving forward.
Yeah, just to answer Chris Bird's question, if we don't bring back Zeitler, who can we bring in to replace him? I think you and I are in agreement between Zeitler and Glasgow. One of them going to be back. I don't think they bring both of them back because I believe Mahogany's going to be a starter next year.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to give him every opportunity to earn that job over the offseason and free agency. I would bring back Zeitler before Glasgow.
Yeah.
That's just me personally. But if they decided to not bring back Zeitler or not bring back Glasgow, we discussed this earlier in the show. Guard wise, I want to bring this back up for Chris Bird, who just joined us. Zach Martin, the guard from the Dallas Cowboys, 10-year vet, 34 years old. He kind of surprised a lot of people announcing his retirement 2 days ago. He's out of the question. You and I brought him up in the last show as a stopgap over the next couple of years. That's probably not going to happen now unless he comes back out of retirement, which we know players do. Brandon Scherf, former Washington Redskin, Pro Bowler. He's 33 years old, 10 years in the league, just coming off of Jacksonville. He's possible. You mentioned James Daniels, the guard from Pittsburgh, started with Chicago, 27 years old. If they're going to upgrade, Will Freeze. If they're going to bring another guy in, I'm pretty sure to be a younger guy, a little bit younger, 27, 28 years old. You got Will Hernandez, a former mid-round pick from the New York Giants a few years ago from Arizona. He's 29. Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton
is interesting. He's a very interesting name because he's only 25, man. And he hasn't played a lot of football because he had injuries early on in his career, but the Eagles turned things around for him. If he can stay healthy,
they might keep him. They might keep him.
Exactly. And he made that transition from left tackle with the Jets to playing guard for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was one of the better guards in the NFL this season. So it's so difficult, man, to tell with the guard position, I think, in free agency.
Just what Marcus said. I totally agree with him. I would draft a new one too, man. I mean, we did our guard definitely. Show from Gray Zabel to but I think Gray Zabel could be just an out. He good enough to be a left tackle to me. Tyler Booker is a guy. It was on one of your guys' wall. I really like Tyler Booker. I'm liking him more and more every day. I see more tape. And then the kid from Arizona, I can't pronounce his name, Savanania, him, that's another guy. So, yeah, I agree. I agree with Marcus a lot. I think that, and if you do draft one of these high-end guys, I think you could plug them in and play. That's how I feel with the offensive line that we do have, and I wouldn't be afraid to put a rookie in there at guard with Ragnow, with Sewell, with Decker, you know what I'm saying, with Chris Mahogany. I think it would be a good mix, you know what I'm saying, of toughness. I just want to be, just Donovan Jackson. Yep, Chris is right. That's another guy. I think, man, this is loaded. I think this draft, you always got to trend towards like what's the best dominant position. I think in this draft coming up, I mean, I know this is a free agency, but offensive line, from what I've seen so far, offensive line and defensive line is loaded, man, where you could really change the fortunes of your team, with a couple picks, man. This could be the year that, the Lions it'd be nice to hit on the starter. If we got an offensive line, if we did go that route, no matter who the player is. It would just be nice if we hit on this guy, man. You know what I'm saying? And you can plug him in there at left guard or right guard, however you're going to shuffle these guys around, and he's the guy, that's going to start for you, when the season
Yeah,
starts. So if I had
yeah,
to end it with that, I mean, I love free agency, just getting ready to start. The combine walks coming up next week. Very intriguing. I want to see these guys run. I want to see these guys, individual drills and stuff. I like to see the linebackers move. I like to see, receivers, running backs. It's what one free agent did want to mention, Walt, to a running back. I see Najee Harris is on the list. And
yep.
I think that Pittsburgh may move on from him. I don't think Najee Harris has been that productive. I don't.
He
And
hasn't.
he was the guy at Bama, but he didn't have the flair. He's strong. He's tough. Something not maybe he was the wrong offense. I don't know. It just feels funny that Najee Harris just hasn't really taken off like I thought he would coming out of college. He
No,
just
I
maybe
get it because usually running
yeah.
backs, especially running backs as heralded as he was coming out of Alabama, I thought he made perfect sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers prior to the draft. They evidently thought the same thing. You're talking about a guy who's 6'1" to almost 230 pounds. I don't know if he's still that. What I've seen mostly from him, even though the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line run block wise hasn't been the best since he's been there in Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lack of vision. It's a lack of vision. Also, when you take the handoff out of the backfield as a running back, you only get a split second to make a decision. Being a running back is so based on natural instincts. He doesn't seem to have that
Yeah.
as a running back. Now, is he big and powerful and fast for his size and all this other stuff? Sure. But he also doesn't run as physical as you would expect. Remember coming out of Bama, people was comparing him to Derrick Henry because he was 6'1", almost 230. He had the long dreads, all this other stuff. They was comparing him to Derrick Henry. I'm like, this dude is nowhere near Derrick Henry from a physicality standpoint.
Yeah.
He doesn't run the contact either, which is strange to see a big running back like him that doesn't welcome the contact. So for what
Yeah.
I've seen from him in the NFL, it's a lack of decision making, quick decision making, getting the ball out of the backfield because as quickly as those holes open up, they shut just as quickly. And
Yeah.
as a running back, you have to be able to take the handoff out of the backfield and in the blink of an eye be able to see holes opening up before they open up. He struggles a lot with that.
Yeah.
And but he's still young and you're not going to pay him much. I don't know if we would necessarily pay him because where does he really fit? Like we got a Montgomery
Mm-hmm.
already with him, but you know how Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes feel about this team. They'll upgrade any position group on this team.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get out of here, speaking of that, I just want to bring one more thing up to you. What about quarterback?
Yeah.
Because it's obvious Goff is the starter. Hendon Hooker's going to be the backup this season. He better be.
Yeah. Right.
Um, this is a team that could draft a quarterback later on,
Yep.
seventh round, sixth round, perhaps. Or what do you think about them going out and kicking the tires on a young guy like Zach Wilson? You're not going to pay Zach Wilson that much. Um, does he upgrade the quarterback room talent wise? That's possible. But they do need a third quarterback, I believe, or at least somebody consistently for the practice squad. So, what do you think about the quarterback position before we get out
Yeah.
of here?
Yep. Yep. Good question, Walt. I really do. I like Hendon Hooker still to this
Yeah,
day,
I
and
do. I do
I,
too.
and I don't. And I think it's just unfair, just for people to have an assumption on him and just say, "Well, we need a new backup. He needs to go." And it's like, really? I
But
mean,
they
this
got
is
they got motives, bro. And I'm so sick of hearing them people. Like I've never seen a fan base hate a backup quarterback so bad.
yeah, and it's like, isn't that what a backup quarterback should do? Like when he's not playing right, he should be on the sideline. So he's doing exactly what he should be doing right now. So you can to answer your question. No, I don't want Zach Wilson. I want Hendon Hooker to continue to develop, and then this is what I foresee for him. Well, to answer your question, yeah, I mean, if you want to entertain bringing a third quarterback, of course, yeah. I mean, you just said it. You're trying to upgrade your team at every spot, no matter the draft or free agency, right? So yeah, your question, I would draft a late round, if you want to use one of those seventh round picks and get you another quarterback in here, fine, do that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not bringing a Zach Wilson or no, man. Them guys are damaged goods. You know that kid's already ruined. But I'm just saying because you mentioned him. But
Yeah.
Zach Hendon Hooker, continue to develop Hendon Hooker, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you never know when his time will become his time. You know what I'm saying? That's what you do in the NFL. And I think that's been probably the problem with the Lions. Remember, not having a guy, to come behind Stafford so much. Remember, it
Right.
was like the organization was scared to death and didn't want to push him, which you didn't really have
Right.
to in hindsight because he wanted to win in the Super Bowl. But you just continue to stay on track with Hendon Hooker. That to answer your question and allow him to just get the time and develop, man. You know what I'm saying? Because let's be honest, as much as people think they know every Brad Home move, maybe this could be the plan all along and have Hendon Hooker be the quarterback of this team in 3 years. You never know. I'm just saying maybe that's what they're telling him. Like, you just get the reps, and Goff is only here for another 2 years, and you're going to be our quarterback in 2028 or so. I'm just making examples. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's nothing wrong with having Hendon Hooker be the backup quarterback. He's fine. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Yeah.
Man, it just bugs me, man. It
Yeah.
bugs me. Corey Patterson touched on it. Chris Bird touched on it, man. Like I said, I've never seen a fan base spread across the league
Yeah.
that just hates the backups. I'm not saying this entire fan base, but like
No,
Chris
no.
Bird said, now Corey
Mm-hmm.
Patterson said, like, our fan base is kind of split down the middle, and we don't want to make everything about a racial situation. But in general, the way I hear black people talk about Hendon Hooker in regards to how white people, in comparison to how a lot of white people talk about him, there's always this notion of, well, he's not smart enough. Oh, he doesn't know the offense yet. He can't
Yeah.
start. What makes you think it takes 3 years for him to learn the damn offense? And there's always these little subtle shots at black quarterbacks. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if he's smart enough to learn our offense. Or I don't think he knows really what to do. We
Yeah.
always stupid. We always can't understand anything. And that's complete BS. And like
Yeah.
Chris Bird, like Corey Patterson said, there's a section of this fan base, and part of me wants to see Hendon Hooker leave
Mm-hmm.
so he can start his
So you
career
can
somewhere.
start somewhere else.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because like half this fan base hates
Okay.
him for
Right.
no damn reason. They hate him. I've
Right.
never seen who wants to trade their backup quarterback.
Yeah. Right. And just what you said, man. Okay. Let's just say we get rid of Hendon Hooker, right? Okay. And then now what? Now what are you gonna do? You're gonna bring somebody else. We're gonna get North Dakota State's quarterback and put him on a roster. What is he gonna do? He's gonna do the same damn thing Hendon Hooker's doing right now. You
Bro.
know what I'm saying? He's not, as long as Jared Goff's the quarterback, he's not playing. That's it.
Dude, they
You know what I'm
wanted Jake
saying?
Fromm, bro. They
Yeah.
saw 6 throws from Jake Fromm,
Yeah.
that part of the fan base, and said, "Well, I've seen all I need to see from Jake Fromm. I'm sold. He should be
Yeah.
our backup over Hendon." Like there's certain people that just
Yeah.
they want what makes them feel comfortable at quarterback.
Yeah. And I
Hendon
get
Hooker,
some
yeah,
people say we took him too high. And it's like, no, you didn't take him top 10 or nothing like that. It wasn't like Mitch Trubisky, who's resulted into just being a backup, like you said, like
yeah,
number 2 overall. He's a second round pick. And just what Chris Bird said. And Chris, you go back and look, not you personally, but can go back. I was pounding the table with Hendon Hooker. You know what I'm saying? Well, before they drafted, coming out of Tennessee, I just thought with Jalen Hyatt, I mean Cedric Tillman, I think was the other guy they had at the time in Tennessee. And them boys was balling over there, running pro style offense. You know what I'm saying? Even though, you could say the competition wasn't there, but and every ball was a home run ball with Hendon Hooker, man. I just thought that he's got a lot of ability. He really does. He's just a rookie, man. He's rookie. You talk about his age, you compared it to Chris Winkie being 25 or 26 when he get drafted. So yeah, there we go. Marcus said the same thing. I was thinking that too. John Morton excelled with Bo Nix
oh
last
no, yeah,
season,
I agree.
and
I
it
think they
could be a
subtly
method to the madness. What
they
if they
subtly
telling
moving
Hendon Hooker
towards it.
like, dude, you're gonna be our starter in 3 years? I'm telling you. So
Definitely.
yeah, so
You
yeah,
because we got quarterbacks playing into their late 30s.
yeah,
And if you take Hendon, Hendon played a little bit at Virginia Tech, played a little bit at Tennessee, still left as what, a 24-year-old rookie, I
Mhm.
believe.
Yeah.
So he didn't play his first 2 years here, 3 years for that matter.
I'm intrigued
Yeah,
by
I am too.
Milroe, Walt. If he's a
Whew.
guy, let me just tell you this. I know you
Whew.
don't really care for him.
Ugh.
I would say this. This would I not.
Yeah.
Let's just say somebody slides every year, right? That don't go as high as everybody projected. All these people that on TV saying they know the draft, right? So
Uh-huh.
let's just say Milroe, you get your defensive guys that you want the first 2 or 3 picks, get your offensive lineman, linebacker, however you want to slice it, receiver. If Jalen Milroe's there with that 4th round pick, I would take a flyer on him. He's the one guy I'm intrigued. He's like my Malik Willis this year. I think that
These
I'll let you
man,
take it away. I know you're gonna kill me for it,
these
but
fans will tar and these fans will tar and feather Brad Holmes. He bring another black quarterback in here.
I, lo-
Some
I,
of
lo-
them.
I like Jalen
Some of them.
Milroe. I think it's something there with Milroe. I think you got to bring it out. You know what I'm saying? He's
Oh
got
no, don't get
all
me wrong. The
ability.
physical tools, he got the body type.
Yeah.
He got the cannon arm. He mobile as hell. He runs physical. Yeah, I get it.
Hmm.
Um, but for this team, oh man, if he drafted Milroe, oh,
You don't
I
think
get it
so?
though, because it's about thinking about the future,
Yeah.
and we
I'm,
talked about that consistently.
yeah, and it just what Detroit fan man said. He may not be. Of course, that's why I don't want to. I'm not going too early. I'm just saying, what if everybody makes a assumption like maybe this guy can't, but yet we could still get him late and then kind of make something, try to make something out of it. That's all I'm saying. While we got Jared Goff at quarterback, who's not giving up the spot, you know what I'm saying? It's not about replacing Goff right now with Milroe or Hendon Hooker. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Because they're still in a window where they could win, man. They can with Goff. It's like people just gotta be patient, man. You know, with the quarterback, it's crazy to me. We remember we did all the show. People was getting upset when we was talking about, you know, who could be the backup and possibly unseat Jared Goff. And remember, we got bashed for it, man. People were saying we was golf haters, blah blah blah. And it's not that. You just want. You kind of want your next guy to be in line, right? I mean, I
It's
thought
called
that's the
running a
position.
competent organization.
Yeah,
Like you
it just
don't.
there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm
Bill
saying?
Belichick had Brady and continued to draft the quarterback every other year.
Yeah. 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 A real quarter, like remember the Lions kind of did it too. Remember they had Brad Kaya. Remember we took
Yeah,
him
from
out of
Miami.
Miami.
Uh,
And it was just never
Kellen
serious
Moore.
though. Yeah,
They
yeah,
had
yeah.
Kellen
Kellen
Moore.
Moore, yeah, yeah. Shout out to Kellen Moore, new head coach at Saints. But yeah, man. So that's all today, man, with this free agency. Next show what we doing? We doing
Defensive line.
defensive line. Okay.
Defensive line.
Oh
It's
yeah,
draft
so
time.
everybody get your favorite picks out. There combine is what next week. Well, I think it start Friday, right?
I
In,
believe so.
in
The
Indianapolis.
interviews process and everything. Yep.
D line. I just tell you a couple guys that I like right now before we get out of here. I like Landon Jackson. I think I'm gonna do my first profile on him from Arkansas. Just a really good player, man. Really good player. That can really help this team. I think he's a Brad Holmes guy. I'll explain on our next show. A lot of talent.
Corey just really typed that out though. He could have called her a C head. Yeah,
Yeah,
Brad
Mike
Kai
Green
was
from Marshall. Yup, Chris,
yeah.
we right there with you. I love Mike Green, man. So yeah, this is it right here. I mean, if you're not gonna get Miles Garrett, I think everybody wanna tune into these next shows because we got options, right, Walt? I mean, it's
Oh yeah.
options out there. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to, if you tell me we can get one or possibly two of these guys and pull a Philly and get 2 top-end defensive players in the draft, then hey, we don't need Miles Garrett. You know what I'm saying? If you tell me right now, but even though I would like Miles Garrett, but if we can't get him, give me Mike Green, man. Give me a Mike Green, Landon Jackson scenario. I would love that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. just end the show with that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off on that.
No, man, you all good. Detroit fan, man. What's up? What's up? I thought we were all hurting for a Scorton. Nick Scorton? Yeah, I
Yeah,
like Nick Scorton.
yeah, I
Little
like
bit
Scorton too.
undersized. I like Nick Scorton as a player and as a prospect better, way more than Shamar Stewart. I think Shamar Stewart. Well, we gonna get into Shamar Stewart probably this
Love
next
Nick
show.
Scorton. He
Yeah,
baller, man. Yep.
Nick is Nick is a lot. We gonna get into Nick Scorton for sure. Detroit fan, man. Make sure you tune in. It probably won't be the next video because I won't be talking about Nick Scorton for sure in the next video, but
Yeah.
we will definitely get into Nick Scorton a lot. Actually, all three of those Texas A&M defensive linemen for that matter. Chris Bird brought up somebody else, Walter Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing,
Yeah.
Nolan played at Texas A&M too, and then transferred over to Ole Miss a couple years ago. It's funny about Nick Scorton and about Walter Nolan, the two guys who had the well, he was real good at Purdue. I know a lot of Michigan fans remember Nick Scorton from Purdue, but we will definitely get into that. Corey Patterson also says Brad gonna get a dude from Colgate or some shit. He says, I won't be the prince. Definitely. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us this Saturday morning, man. Love these Saturday morning shows. It's a little rough getting up early Saturday morning sometimes, but once I get me a cup of coffee in my system, I'm all set to go, man. Anything you want to say to these people before we get up out of here?
No. I mean, we covered it all from free agency to potential guys that the Lions could get. Just remember that you can't build your team on free agency. It's a bridge. It's a stopgap. You know what I'm saying? You could get a diamond in the rough. Obviously, I think that the guy with the most value that you probably can get right now, and you brought up with Justin Simmons, and I think Milton Williams to an extent, but Milton might probably getting ready to get paid. Man, he had a good Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Run. So
definitely. All right. Like I said, we wrapped up that part 2 of the free agency list. Of course, we're gonna still talk about some more free agency as free agency kicks off. Legal tampering period kicks off March 8th, and free agency itself, I believe, kicks off 3 days later. So we'll be back on that as well. But now, man, let's get back, like I said, into this draft. We got defensive line coming up. We already took care of the offensive line. We're going to talk about more offensive linemen later on in the draft process. We got cornerbacks coming up. We're going to talk about the safety positioning. We're going to get back over to the offensive side of the ball, talk about wide receivers, offensive linemen again, running backs for that matter. I know you're a big Ashton Jeanty fan, even though Jeanty won't be there at 28, I'm sure. And Jeanty would be another pick that if they made, his fan base would lose it, man.
Yeah, he gonna be in Chicago, man. Guarantee you.
Or Jacksonville. I think I can see Jacksonville taking him to also early because that seemed like a Jacksonville type of pick. But all right, man. Like I said, I want to thank everybody for joining us this Saturday morning. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. Till next time, one pride.